The Gospel is according to the 7th chapter of the Gospel of Luke. After Jesus had finished all his sayings in the hearing of the people, he entered Capernaum. A centurion there had a slave whom he valued highly, and who was ill and close to death. When he heard about Jesus, he sent some Jewish elders to him, asking him to come and heal his slave. When they came to Jesus, they appealed to him earnestly, saying, "He is worthy of having you to do this for him, for he loves our people, and it is he who built our synagogue for us." And Jesus went with them. But when he was not far from the house, the centurion sent friends to say to him, "Lord, do not trouble yourself, for I am not worthy to have you come under my roof. Therefore, I did not presume to come to you. But only speak the word, and let my servant be healed. For I also am a man sent under authority, with soldiers under me. And I say to one, 'Go,' and he goes. And to another, 'Come,' and he comes. And to my slave, 'Do this,' and the slave does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed at him. And turning to the crowd that followed him, he said, "I tell you, not even in Israel have I found such faith." When those who had been sent returned to the house, they found the slave in good health. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Please be seated. I have in my backyard, or on my deck now, I have what I would call a bird wonderland. I have feeders up, and this year, more than I have ever noticed before, I have all different kinds of birds. Some were added this year because of the different feeders, I think, that we put out there. And I love watching them all come, although I don't like those blackbirds that come around, but they seem to boss everyone. But we occasionally go out there and tell them to go away and let the others get their food. The new feed's also keeping a red-headed woodpecker around as well, hanging out, drilling on my gutters, calling out for a friend. If you watch for a while, you'll soon realize that within these birds, there seems to be a kind of pecking order, or so they try to impress that upon each other. Now, last year I noticed how I would have the hummingbirds that would be busy chasing other birds around, but there was one bird that would always keep the other hummingbirds away from the feeder. Now, he would let, or she, haven't figured out what it is yet, but they would let one bird in, but there was this third bird they would never let close to the hummingbird feeder. Well, I decided this year I was going to fix him, her, whatever. So I put up 2 hummingbird feeders, which just meant that it kept that one bird really, really, really busy trying to keep everybody else, because when they go to get a drink, the others get their drinks as well. It's easy to sit there and notice that there is a boss of all the different birds. Every bird kind of has their own way that they take control of the other birds. I told you about this red-headed woodpecker I've had, and last year this woodpecker started drilling on the side of the house. And I kept thinking there was something really wrong with this woodpecker, because there's no wood anywhere to be had. This woodpecker was either blind or deaf. Something was wrong with him. Well, it was while I was sitting down in Georgia that my cousin's husband told me that no, it's the way that they call to one another. It's kind of like how you guys will sing to a woman, to attract them. And that's what my woodpecker's doing. So this year that woodpecker's been just drilling away on my gutters out there. But also feeding this year, because we have a bird feeder out there. Now, the woodpecker seems to get along with everybody out there. And so far I've only seen one, so I haven't seen whether this woodpecker has a way of controlling others or not. I'm fascinated by the way the birds learn to strategize around the feeding areas. I don't think there's any bird going hungry, because I'm buying plenty of bird feed. I guess humanity kind of operates much the same way as birds. I think we probably do the same thing. We probably have little pecking orders that we are either aware of or not aware of. Depending on where you live, the determination of who is on top and who is not soon emerges if you live in the area long enough. Now, we're fortunate to live in a country where we're not ruled by a dictatorship or a particular class of people. So the details of today's gospel lesson could just pass right over us. Today's gospel lesson could just look like another one of Jesus' healings. But in fact, there are so many surprises and twists to this story that the message of this story becomes so much more than just a story about healing. Now, in the world of this story, there is a pecking order. Romans are the ruling class, the government, the people who control everything. And anyone else who is there is allowed to be there as part of the society, but they have no official say. They are tolerated as long as they obey the rules and keep to themselves. But also within the non-Roman group, namely the Jews, there's also a pecking order, a way of determining who's in the controlling group, who has power, and how everyone was to act. So a Roman, a centurion, which is an officer, has a very ill slave. And everything that happens from this point on in the story is totally out of character. This man, this Roman officer, after hearing about Jesus, sends Jewish elders, not a Roman army detail of officers and soldiers, but Jewish religious leaders. He sends them to speak on his behalf, to request the healing. Surprise number 2, when we hear the Jewish elders speak of him, they don't speak poorly. They have high compliments of this man, this person who is of the ruling group who has helped them. Well, of course, Jesus goes with them. We know that's not unusual. Jesus always goes with anyone who needs him. But then the next surprise happens. The Roman soldier now sends his friends to stop Jesus from coming any closer. Why? Because the centurion believed he is not worthy to have Jesus come under his roof, which is why the centurion never came to Jesus himself. This man of power, this man of authority and privilege, does not feel worthy to go to a man who's not even a part of his own kind. And then comes surprise number 4. He says these words, "But only speak the word and let my servant be healed." And he continues, "For I am also a man set under authority with soldiers under me, and I say to one, 'Go,' and he goes, and to another, 'Come,' and he comes, and to a slave, 'Do this,' and the slave does it." The man has never met Jesus, and yet he already knows the respect and respects his authority. He has never seen a miracle, but he has no doubt in his power. And when Jesus hears this, he is amazed. He is surprised. Everywhere Jesus has gone among his own people, they have doubted him. When he went to his hometown, there were many who doubted him. His own people have come asking for him to give them a sign, do miracles, heal the sick, so that he can prove that he is the Son of God. Others call him names and plot ways to trip him up and to have him arrested. And this man, a Roman soldier, believes in his power, has no doubts. And to this, Jesus says, "I tell you, not even in Israel have I found such faith? This centurion steps out on faith because of what he believes to be true. He asks for help not because he has a right to the help or because that he has special privilege. In fact, the centurion believes he has no right at all. He does not feel worthy to receive what he is asking. Only because he is asking for someone else, his servant, who has been faithful and honest to him. Jesus is not impressed with his unworthiness. Jesus doesn't care about his unworthiness or his worthiness. Jesus is impressed with his faith, a faith Jesus has not seen among his own followers. I ask you, when is it easier for you to have faith? When things are going well? When life is great? When everything's going according to plan? Or when things are tough? When obstacles get in the way of your goals? When you overcome with sadness or grief? For me, faith is believing when everything around you says no. Faith is about holding on to the promises of God, the hope of a tomorrow when everything around me is gloomy. Life can be devastating at times. The death of a loved one, facing debt, a life crisis, dealing with health issues, being a survivor of abuse, or a family dealing with unresolved issues. All of these and more can be absolutely devastating to us. Faith is what we dare to hold on to when everything else says no. Faith is what gets us out of bed in the morning when our hearts are heavy. Faith is what surrounds us with warmth when our bodies are numb from pain. Faith is the energy of hope that pushes us forward into action at the very moment we thought we couldn't move. God is not concerned about who is unworthy and who is worthy. God decided that a long time ago, that we were all worthy of God's great love. God is concerned about the struggle of life and how we live with that struggle. So God gives us faith. God finds ways to surround us with hope. God finds ways to surprise with moments of truth. You know, we've had several funerals in the past couple of months, and at one of those deaths I was sitting around talking with the family, and the children of the one who had died had children of all different ages. And the one son had a 5-year-old, and he was worried that his son really understood what was going on. That morning he had talked to his son about his grandmother's death. And his son looked up at him and patted him on the arm and said, "It's okay, Daddy. She's sleeping now, but we'll see her again." The dad wondered if he understood. I believe it was a moment of another moment of God's surprising way of giving us hope. May the power of faith surprise you each and every day as you travel on this journey of life. Amen.